it's a couple of days later and everything is gone. Everything, like literally, this is just one big box. Which is kind of the way I like it, because then you can kind of manipulate and do things and put things in exactly where you want them, which is kind of the point of this full bathroom renovation. As I said at the very beginning, sometimes I'm hired to just do a shower, sometimes it's a whole bathroom. It's across the board. Shower is long gone from day one. The tub is long gone from 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. Vanity, same way. Yesterday I took out the floor tile, and it was really easy to take out, believe it or not. Well, of course you have to believe it, because I'm telling you. The thin set that he used, I don't even know it was thin set. I believe this is pre-mixed mastic, because all the tile came off in rows of 3 or 4, with only the grout holding them together. So the only good thing about doing a bad job is the demo is usually easy, except for this. This guy, as I mentioned before, was a homeowner. So when he came in here to do the tub, he did a lot of wonky stuff. There was a lot of assumptions that I made on my own because I didn't know what I didn't know. If you remember, the drain was actually on the right side, and the drain, when I showed before where it just went into this trough that he dug, my take on it was that he somehow tied it in, since this drain wasn't useful anymore to him, that he somehow tied it in. Because for those of you that don't know, when they pour the slab, they already know where things are going to go. So they build a box. In other words, they just form out with some pieces of wood or whatever, a box, and then they pour the concrete around it. And that's the way that a tub or a shower that's a fiberglass shower is built, because they want access. For me, if I want to do a retrofit, they want access later on to be able to get in below grade and dig out things and do what you do. So my take on it, since he had no use for this drain and had it from here to there, my take on it was he tied into this 2-inch pipe that was meant for the shower. But I was wrong. So what he did is he just tied in way beyond the limitation that he's allowed. I think it's 18 or 20 inches that you're allowed to be at a P-trap. And he's 4 feet, 1, 2, 3. He's 4 feet over from a P-trap. 48 inches from where the tub drain was at proper to where the actual P-trap that he tied into. And so he had done a reduction of the 1.5 inch down to 2 inch at that point over there. And then I had to reconfigure it. I had to cut off, I had to find a bite back there with the 2-inch pipe and then reconfigure it and put in my own P-trap, because I don't trust other people's P-trap, because there might be junk and all that stuff inside of it. Plus I had to do it over again anyway, so I would have had to use my own P-trap. I don't like where it's at. I set it yesterday and I'm going to redo it today, because it's not quite where my mark is at. I'm about 3 inches off from front to back, which I can't do anything about, but I'm 2 inches off from my mark left to right. And so it needs to move over about 2 inches, because when my knee wall goes over here, we're not doing a curve, by the way, when my knee wall goes over here, I want it to be the exact same distance from my knee wall as it is from my outside wall. And the only way to make that happen is to get this on center, and I'm about 2 inches. I need to be over here somewhere. So yeah, I'm going to cut that out and redo that. The other issue that I ran into, the biggest issue of all, is, and again, a lot of my videos are educational, meaning that a DIY or homeowner comes in to watch my videos and they don't know anything. And so I want to kind of educate some of you guys on slab foundation type plumbing, right? So when they build the house, they put these pipes in to kind of stabilize the 3/4 line. The 3/4 line is your supply. You have an inch line that comes in from your house, And then once it hits your house, they reduce it to 3/4 for your water heater and throughout the rest of the house. Then they reduce that to 1/2 inch for your shower and for your vanity and things like that. So what they did, and is kind of typical, you know, they have these 1/2 inch rigid pipe that they stick in the ground in order to support the 3/4 soft copper. This is soft copper, it's bendable, it's flexible to some extent. You can, there's certain tools that you can bend it with and not crimp it and stuff like that. But soft copper wall is much thicker than stiff copper. The stiff copper wall is a little thinner, and thereby causing me a problem because this soft copper was bent and turned and all this stuff, just like you see here on the cold line. It was bent and turned, so it's feeding off of the main coming into the house in that direction, and that's why you see this bend and all this twisting and all this stuff. And I can't manage that because I need to be able to put my shower valve right here. If you remember, this is going to be a 9-foot long shower, and the shower head's going to be down there with a spray wand, and my shower valve needs to be here. But I cannot tie into this 3/4 line because I can't get enough 90s on here to turn this line to reduce it down to 1/2 inch, to cut it out, cut this out, and reduce it down to 1/2 inch and put a 90 on it, a 90 and another 90 to go this direction into this trough and bury it. Because soft copper, as I said, the wall is much thicker, and when you put a 90 on, it's very, very difficult at best to get seated in there correctly. It's a very, very tight fit that I've struggled with in the past, and I know my limitations.
Man's got to know his limitations.
I know my limitations. Therefore, I'm going to rely on the professional, and I have a plumber coming by that the homeowner called up, and so he is going to decipher, because he agreed, I had a conversation with him briefly yesterday, that the wall on here is too large and that he even struggles to get connectors on there. So it's not without my purview. Like, I can still do this work, but I would struggle. It would take me a couple of hours to make this happen, whereas a plumber that does this all the time might take 30 minutes or an hour, and he's got 2 people and it's just me here. So anyway, as I said, I know my limitations, and I'm going to stick to my lane, and my lane is not this. However, prior to me taking everything out, I kind of sort of knew that this might be a problem, and so I suggested going through the attic, because the water heater and all the inlet for the house is right beyond this closet. And so then theoretically, the hot and the cold could be run off of the main line and the water heater coming up and through the attic and then down this wall. But I don't do PEX, and doing something like this would be a bit difficult at best. So when the plumber comes, we're going to discuss doing this fix, and just all he has to do is bring up all those 90s to the point where I can put in hard copper and come up the wall myself. I can take care of all this. In fact, yesterday I jackhammered out a nicer line because it was kind of wonky. I think what the homeowner did, this is weird, I think what the homeowner did, he should have used a left-hand drain, but he didn't know what he didn't know. So I think he thought that the center drain would be for the tub, so he cut all this stuff out and said, crap, I can't find a center drain tub that I like, so I'm going to get a right-hand drain tub, which was dumb because you already had a line over here to deal with. So there was a lot of mistakes made that he did. So now I got to fill all that stuff in and then fill this in if we do the plumbing up the wall through here. As I said, all the plumber has to do is give me 4 or 5 90s that will get me a straight shot over here, and then I can handle the rest. Or if he's not too expensive, he can run PEX, because the plumber does PEX very well. He can run PEX all the way up through the attic and probably be in and out in, you know, like less than an hour or an hour and a half. But the PEX would be easier to run across here and then down the wall, and then I just have to I don't deal with PEX, so my shower valve is still going to be copper, and I just want to be able to transition the copper from the PEX into this wall. That's where I'm at. In the meantime, where this drain was, which is separate from that drain, I have to dig out, I have to jackhammer out what he filled in here when he built a shower proper, because again, this was a fiberglass shower at some point. Hold on a second. This was a fiberglass shower at some point, and so that same box that used to be here, there was a box over here. And when he transferred from the fiberglass shower to a tile shower, he had to backfill the hole, which fortunately he did with mortar, because this is not concrete. So this, with my jackhammer, will be like a hot knife through butter to get this out, and then I will snip that off, you know, 2 or 3 inches below, and put a cap on it, and then pour concrete, and that'll be done, because we're not going to worry about that drain anymore. So that's where I'm at. As I said, my customer changed their mind. They don't want this elongated 6-foot curb. Instead, they want a knee wall about 4 foot. I think it's going to be actually about here, which makes more sense financially, because a panel of glass that's going to be 6 foot tall by 9 foot long is going to be somewhere around $2 grand, maybe a little higher than that. Whereas a knee wall is going to cost about, in material, maybe $200 or $300. And then on top of that, there'll be a either 3 or 4 foot panel of glass by 6 foot, and that's going to be half the cost. Yeah, it's a cost saver to do a knee wall, and I think it's more practical too. The only issue with a 6-foot knee wall is doing my pan mortar, because I have to do one end of my pan mortar first and then do the other one. Yeah, it would be easier for me to do the pan mortar unobstructed, and in this case with the knee wall, I'm not going to be able to do that. But small potatoes, you know, again, I have another solid week, if not 10 days, to make this happen. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Just wanted to give an update and put some information out there for those of you that don't know this stuff, that it could help you in doing your bathroom renovation, with information that you could use. So that's it for the day. When I get something else done, I will come back on camera.